Hi, welcome in today's lesson. Before we go ahead, remember to subscribe to our channel, leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed the video. Today we discuss about the different documents needed for international cross-border shipping. Let's look at what we call Evergreen Documents, which means that you're gonna need them pretty much every time. So when you're shipping internationally and you're using, like, for example, an express courier, you're going to need a commercial invoice that states the declared value, the origin, the type of product, and so on that you are shipping. If you're using a postal service, you may require to fill in the CN22 or CN23, which are like custom declarations. Generally, the shipping label already contains that, but it may be that it's a separate piece of paper to fill it in. So let's say the first one, commercial invoice or CN2223, generally it's a custom declaration. Then we have the shipping label. Of course, you need to have all the details regarding the sender address, who's sending the goods, but also who is receiving them, plus tracking number, weight, and how many packages you're shipping, basically. Sometimes packing list, it depends on the type of orders that you're shipping worldwide, and the packing list is basically a summary of what you're shipping. For example, 2 boxes of 2 kilograms that contain X amount of products and this product specifically. 1 box of this dimension, this weight, that contains this type of product, and so on. Of course, based on the case, you may have bill of lading, certificate of origin, fumigation certificate, and MSDS, license of import-export, and so on. So all those documents really depends on which type of carrier you're using, let's say line. So if you're shipping with air freight, which means that pretty much express, taking a plane, then you don't need a bill of lading, you just need a shipping label and a commercial invoice. But if you're shipping via ocean, then therefore the bill of lading is needed. Certificate of origin is generally needed for certain type of product. Same for the MSDS if you have batteries only. Certificate of origin for certain type of products. But if you're shipping on pallets, for example, and it's a pallet of, I don't know, mobile phones or pens, for example, can be anything, but the pallet is a wooden pallet, then you need the fumigation certificate because wood can bring bacteria, and then of course you don't want to bring them worldwide from one country to another. Therefore you need a fumigation certificate to make sure that wood doesn't have any bacteria because it has been fumigated. And license of import or export, it also depends on the product. So generally we have Evergreen Documents, but we also have additional document that really depends on the type of product itself. So what are the information that a shipping label needs to have? Definitely the full name. And when I say full name, it means name and surname. Don't just go with the name. Don't accept shipment that only has name. Make sure that your shopping cart makes mandatory name and surname. That's because when, especially in countries where they need to cross-check, it's the well-known KYC, know your customer, and they need to get, for example, like India, you need to get the passport or like any identification, let's say document for whoever is receiving the product. Then they need to match the name on the shipping label and the name of who is the receiver on the identity card, for example. So make sure you always have name and surname, and you can make it mandatory in your website. Complete and verified address. There are a lot of software that helps you to verify address at the shopping cart, like apps in Shopify and so on. So please use them, because if any let's say customer filled in the wrong information, then you ship something that's never going to get delivered. You're going to pay for disposal, or you're going to pay for the return. That generally is automatically returned if it's an express option or postal option as well. So just be mindful of that. If you do have let's say one of this option where you can verify the address while people are typing, then definitely go for that, so you avoid incomplete orders or wrong address orders, so that the product gets delivered right away. Phone number. The phone number is always mandatory generally, because of course if they can't deliver, the first thing they're going to do is going to call you. And especially for express options, it's generally mandatory. You cannot not put the phone number in there, because they need to contact you if they can't find you. Email addresses generally are not really mandatory, they're optional, but definitely better, so they can also contact you if you can't pick up the phone a certain period of time. Therefore, they can write you an email if they can reach you to your phone number. Then you have the description, of course, more or less, because shipping label just has, let's say, a little remark of what's inside, because definitely if you ship worldwide, then you need to have a commercial invoice or a CN22, for example, if you're shipping with postal, and therefore the full description is going to go there. But you still need a little remark of what's inside on the shipping label generally. Then you have the weight. You need to state the weight, which can be, of course, it depends on the type of charge that the courier is going to have. If they charge you based on whichever is higher between actual and volumetric weight, therefore you need to, if your volumetric weight is higher than actual weight, then the weight that you're going to state on the shipping label is going to be the volumetric weight. So whichever is higher, that's the weight you should show on the shipping label. And then the sender address, of course, not only the receiver address, so who's sending it, so if it needs to return it, there's an address where to return it. And then, of course, the tracking number that generally is automatically generated or already in there. Next one would be, how do you fill in a commercial invoice? Generally, you should be careful on the weight, declare value, HS code, insurance price, shipping rate, description of the product, shipper and company address, country of origin, number of pieces per product, reason of export, date, and Incoterm. Let's start from the first one. You should always have the weight. Generally, if it's always the type of weight that the courier charges for, so if it's whichever is higher between volumetric and actual weight, you write whichever is higher, basically. If it's only actual weight, for example, postal service, that's the case in the CN22, by the way, you just put the actual weight. Let's go back. You should also input the declared value. Generally, the declared value is always the selling price, and of course, based on the country, it can be different in the sense that the declared value for certain countries is generally given by the worth, how much the product is worth it. Let's say sold it for, let's say I sell my phone for $100 and it's $100, but then you should include also any insurance, which means that if you pay $5 to insure the shipment because the phone is expensive, then the declared value is 100 plus 5. But then you should also consider the shipping rate, which means that you should consider also how much you pay for the shipping. So in that case, it can be $10. Therefore, the declared value in certain countries is not only the value of the product itself, but the combination and the sum of the declared value of the product and insurance price that you paid and the shipping rate. Other countries instead, they allow you to have as a declared value only the product. Then we have HS code. HS code is the well-known harmonized code. So of course, they have to be able to identify your product, and therefore it's mandatory to have an HS code now almost worldwide. There are certain countries that maybe do not require it, but pretty much it's an international requirement. You need to have the HS code on your commercial invoice, otherwise the shipment may be rejected or the HS code may be applied based on sample checking. They're going to open your box, they're going to look inside, and then they're going to sign the HS code that they think it may be, and then charge you the duties. Insurance price, as I said, since it's part also of the declared value for certain countries, you should state separately insurance price and shipping rate. It's not always mandatory, by the way. Then we have description of the product. Even if you have the HS code, description should be present so that the custom officer can look at the HS code, but they can also understand very easily without checking the HS code what is this about, what's inside the box. And then the shipper and company address, of course, because you need an address to deliver to, but you also need an address where you can go back in case it's undelivered, you know? And then basically same information as per shipping label generally. Country of origin, where it's coming, that's from, actually from where the goods are, you know, the region of the goods. And then number of pieces per product. Of course, you can only put, okay, the value $100, but how many products, you know? So you have to list how many products, and if it's a different type of product, you have different lines. So it's going to be phone, case, and pen, for example, something like that. Then you're going to have 3 lines. If you sell 3 phones, 3 pens, and 3 cases, then you're going to have 3 lines. And then you describe your product, the HS code and everything, the price per piece, and then how many pieces, and then you put the total at the end. Then there's the reason of export. So is it a gift? Is it a sample? Is it a purchase? What is that? So if you sold it, then it's definitely a sale or purchase. I mean, you can use one or the other. If it's a sample, let's say you're sending a gift to an influencer, you can use gift, but be mindful, you still need to have a declared value. Then the date, of course, when you're shipping, so when the label was generated, the commission invoice generated, and the Incoterm, if you want to ship DDU, DDP, so what's the Incoterm? You always need to include it. And that's pretty much it. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, then remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.